Experts for either side will be allowed to remain in the. I think we're missing just a couple of jurors. As soon as they get here, we'll get started. Anything from the defense?
Good morning, everyone. Let me get this open so I can mute this. We're not getting going just yet. They are in the courtroom. The judge is in. You can see Judge Dewey Arthur there. Carly Gregg is in the courtroom, and now we are waiting for the jury to arrive. They were instructed to be there at the courtroom by 8:45 this morning, and so that's what we're waiting on is for the rest of the jury to get in so that we can get day 2 of this trial underway. So yesterday was obviously day 1 of the trial, and they picked the jury yesterday. They had opening arguments or opening statements rather, and then we heard testimony from a dispatcher with Rankin County Dispatch. We heard testimony from deputy. That was the first deputy on the scene after the 911 call. And then there was testimony that was heard from a juvenile who we did not get to see that or hear that because it is a juvenile. We can't air their image or their voice to protect the juvenile. So we didn't hear that, but we do know what the juvenile witnessed or testified to. So I'm getting everything pulled up so we can get this going. So what our reporter Morgan Harris was in the courtroom all day yesterday, and she was there from the time they were picking the jury all the way through the end of the trial yesterday. And what she says that the juvenile testified to, who was the last one to get on stand, that he was testified to be Carly's best friend, and that he said that he told Ashley, Carly's mom, about Carly's drug use and about Carly having a burner phone because he was concerned. He said that he told her mom about that the day of the incident. Then said that later that day, Gregg, Carly FaceTimed him and was visibly upset and the friend told Carly to not harm herself or anyone else, and she, according to them, Gregg said it was too late. So the judge is there talking in the courtroom. We're going to go back in there real quick and see what's happening.
And the camera's off and they're recording. Okay, just let me know.
I believe that we're going to have another juvenile get on the stand this morning, probably the same juvenile who was on stand yesterday, so they can be questioned by the defense. So if that happens, then of course, just like yesterday, whenever there's a juvenile on the stand, we cannot show their face, we cannot show or let you hear their voice. It will be silent for a little while that juvenile is on the stand. This is just to protect the child. So that is what's happening now. We are going to go ahead and go into the courtroom because as soon as the juvenile is done, we will be able to see and hear what is happening in there again. So it may be quiet for a little while, and I'll be coming back in periodically here. But we do have a juvenile on the stand right now, and that's what we're waiting for. We're going back into the courtroom now. All right, guys. So while while the witness is up there, the juvenile witness is up there, what I would like to do for you is to play you a recap, basically, of what happened yesterday. Morgan Harris, our reporter, was there, like I said earlier, in the courtroom all day, and so we're going to play for you the recap that she did of what happened yesterday in the courtroom.
You'll hear about some secret life that Carly lived.
The prosecution beginning opening statements by letting the jury know that they aren't here to judge that secret life, but for Gregg's actions on March 19th. That is when the teenager is accused of killing her mother and shooting her stepfather.
So now I want to take you to the real reason we're here. From the testimony of this friend is that he was so worried about Carly's use of smoking marijuana, and so worried about her being high, and so worried about her having these burner phones that her mom didn't know about, that he felt compelled to tell Miss Ashley Smylie that day.
The state says that when Ashley Smylie got home, she searched her daughter's room and found vape pens. They claim this is when Carly Gregg did the unthinkable.
We believe the testimony will show that she peeks her head around the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her bedroom. We believe the evidence will then show that she walked with that .357 Magnum behind her back, walked into her own bedroom, and then fired 3 shots into her mother, killing her.
The defense laying out their case after.
This is not a whodunit case. We know who took action on March 19th to bring about the death of Ashley Smylie and the injuries to Heath Smylie. However, this is a why case.
Attorney Bridget Todd claims that Gregg was suffering from mental illness like others in her family.
It doesn't matter how many witnesses the state puts on. Their story is filled with inconsistencies.
The state's first witness was the dispatcher who answered Carly Gregg's stepfather, Heath Smylie's 911 call.
Okay, sir. Where's your wife? She's dead on the floor of my stepdaughter's room. What's your wife's name? Ashley Smylie. Ashley Smylie.
Next to the stand was Rankin County Deputy Hunter Lewis. His body cam footage was shown in court as he was the first person to arrive at the Smylies' home that day. Smylie could be heard describing Gregg, who had run away from the scene.
He's a grayish t-shirt. She's got short brownish hair.
So jeans, a gray t-shirt, short brown hair.
The last witness was a juvenile who says that he and Gregg were best friends. He testified that he told the teen's mom about her drug use and her having a burner phone because he was concerned. Later that day, Gregg FaceTimed him and seemed upset. The friend told her not to harm herself or anyone else. The teen says that's when Gregg told him, too late.
And so that is what happened yesterday in the courtroom. Thank you to Morgan Harris. She did a great job of breaking down the day and summarizing it for us. And that's so that is what happened. That's where we're at. That's who we heard from yesterday on the trial, on the stand rather, and believe that same juvenile witness is back on the stand this morning so that he can be questioned by the defense. So that's what we are waiting on now. Of course, like I've said before, when there is a juvenile on the stand, and there are a handful of juveniles who have been summoned to testify on this trial or in this trial. And when those juveniles come to the stand, what you're seeing there on the screen up in the, let's not point in the right direction, the corner up here, that's what you're going to see when the next juvenile comes on the stand. We're not going to show their face, not going to show their voice. You won't be able to hear that, and that is to protect the juvenile. So that is what we are waiting on right now. That is an update. Just gave you of what happened yesterday. We're going to go ahead and go back into the courtroom because as soon as the juvenile is off the stand, then we will be able to see and hear again what is happening there in the courtroom. And according to the judge yesterday, he stated that the trial was moving along at a pretty good clip. Those were his words yesterday. So this could go very fast today, could go very fast tomorrow. Initially, both sides said that they believed that the trial would take anywhere between 3 to 5 days. And so if the judge believes that we're moving at a good pace, then maybe we are looking at a trial ending by tomorrow, possibly as soon as tomorrow. We're not sure. But we are going to be here all day today, all day tomorrow. And as long as the trial takes, we'll be following it right along with you. We're going to go back into the courtroom now. Remember, it's muted because there's a juvenile on the stand. You're not going to see anything because there's a juvenile on the stand, but we will give you an update later tonight in our newscast of what is said during this time. But let's go back into the courtroom now as soon as they are free to show and to air sound. We will have that back up. Hi, everyone. So jumping back in with you just to give you, I guess we'll do like an update, let you know, tell you exactly what happened yesterday if you didn't catch it, the breakdown earlier, or you were not able to watch it yesterday. So yesterday morning, the trial began at 9 a.m. That's when they had all the prospective jurors come in, and they were able to pick their jury from those. The trial opening statements began shortly after 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon. We first heard from the state, and then we heard from the defense. The state saying things like what we would hear, that we would hear about secret life that Carly lived. We would hear about some hiding of boyfriends, of drugs, of burner phones, vape pens, different things like that. Some hiding of self-harm that Carly was doing. We were told that we would hear all about that, but that's not what the case was about. The case was about the actions that she took. We're also hearing from the defense that there was mental health issues with Carly, that she had a history of that, and that this was a mental health issue. This wasn't a quote unquote bad kid issue. It was a mental health issue. And so that is what that's what we heard yesterday. Then we heard from the dispatcher that was called, the 911 dispatcher that Heath Smylie called when he arrived home after Carly had shot him and ran off. So we heard that phone call yesterday, and it was absolutely gut-wrenching to hear. You heard on the 911 call as Heath Smylie discovered Ashley Smiley's body on the floor of Carly's bedroom. It was a very hard thing to watch or to hear yesterday. Then we had a deputy with the Rankin County Sheriff's Department get on the stand, and he was the first deputy that arrived there on the scene after the murder and the shooting happened. Hunter Lewis was his name, and they showed his body cam footage. During all of this, during the 911 call being aired, during showing the body cam footage, we could see Carly visibly upset, crying, sobbing even, some would say, at her seat there in the courtroom. Regardless of how you feel on the situation, regardless of your beliefs or how you feel the outcome should be, it was a hard scene to watch, to see that that anguish and that emotion coming from anybody, to hearing that anguish and that emotion coming from Heath Smylie in that phone call to 911, and to seeing it in the body cam footage. It was a very hard thing to watch. But that is what happened yesterday. Then we had a witness, the same witness, juvenile witness that is on the stand right now, took the stand yesterday, Carly's best friend, and he testified to telling Ashley about Carly, about drugs that Carly was doing, about taking or about having a burner phone, and that he was concerned for Carly. And so this same witness is back on the stand now. He is being questioned by the defense. And so when juveniles are on the stand, we will not show or air their voice to protect that juvenile. But you guys have a lot of things to say here. Let's see. Jeannie says here, this is sad on so many levels. She obviously has some mental issues. Mental health is real. Her real biological father has mental issues. They said yesterday. They did say that yesterday. So my heart hurts for her stepdad and her family. It's just hard to imagine a teenage girl doing this. Prayers for the jury. And I agree with that. Prayers for the jury. That was something I thought about yesterday on my way home. Is these jurors, which I'm sure going into this courtroom yesterday, going into the summons, knowing what would happen, they may have had some idea, knowing that that trial was set to start yesterday. They probably had some idea of what they would possibly in for going to the jury summons, being summoned for jurors. But I just imagine them going home yesterday and having to see all that and deal with all that. There were some things of the body cam footage that we did not see, that they did not show, just simply because it was things that the public does not need to see. Those in the courtroom need to see it, the public not necessarily. So just imagine those jurors having to see that and knowing that this child's life, Carly's life, is in their hands. It's a very, very heavy decision to have to make. So my thoughts, my prayers are definitely with the jury in having to go through this, and with the family on both sides. I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today. There's no winners in a trial like this. There's no winners. Everybody loses. Even in the end, everybody loses. Everybody has lost something here. So thoughts and prayers with the kids, the witnesses that are getting up on stand, the students there at Northwest Rankin, the fellow teachers there at Northwest Rankin, Carly's family, her mother's side, her father's side, her stepfather's side. So many people involved in this that really do need our thoughts and our prayers. But right now, what we're waiting on is the the witness that is on the stand is a juvenile witness, and we're not going to air their voice or their picture while they are on the stand. We will hear later what they had to say. We will hear that in our newscast later. You can tune into WLBT later tonight to hear that. But during this time, we're not going to show their face or what they say to protect them. So we're going to go back to the courtroom so that as soon as this I keep saying that, as soon as this witness is done on the stand, we can hear what else is happening as they move forward with the trial in day 2. So we're going back in.
swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Have a seat. Adjust yourself up to the mic. You understand that you're now under oath and your answers will be sworn answers under penalty of perjury.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
If you would introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen.
My name's Heath Smylie.
And we've met before today, that's right.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would, though, these ladies and gentlemen don't know you. So if you would just kind of tell them a little bit about how old you are.
39 years old. I'm a physical therapy assistant, and I've been Carly's stepdad for, it was almost, I guess, 3.5 years.
Tell me, excuse me, Heath, prior to March 19, 2024, who were you married to?
Ashley Smylie.
And when did you and Ashley Smylie meet?
It was the spring of 2019.
And at some point, did you and Ashley Smylie end up marrying each other?
We did in June of 2020.
Where'd y'all get married?
We actually went up to Gatlinburg when things opened back up after COVID.
You like to take trips, be outside?
We did.
How old was Ashley Smylie when she passed?
She was 40.
And where did Ashley work?
She was at Northwest Rankin High School.
Can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen kind of what Ashley looked like?
She was very small, about 5'1", 5'2", blonde hair, blue eyes, super nice, real smart.
May I approach the witness room? I'd ask you to look at that. Can you tell me what that is?
It's a picture that we took. Guess we were up in the Smokies somewhere. I'm not sure which one that one's from. Might have been last fall. I don't know.
And it's a photograph?
Mm-hmm.
And who's in that picture?
That's myself and my wife, Ashley.
Your Honor, we'd ask that that be marked as the state next exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Be admitted as 7 all purposes.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Heath, I know that it's tough. I can't imagine what you're going through. But can you tell us, is the picture of Ashley that is in front of you, is that similar to the way she looked the last time you saw her alive?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about, you told us that, a little bit about Ashley's personality. I don't think there'll be any dispute that she loved being a school teacher, right? Loved her kids at school.
Yes.
Tell me about how much did Ashley love Carly?
They loved each other so much. She just, everything she did, she planned out for Carly and around Carly.
Before you and Ashley met, was she previously married?
She had been, yes, ma'am.
And who was she married to?
Kevin, Gregg.
And did Kevin and Ashley have any other children besides Carly?
She had a second child that passed several months or a year or so later from a genetic abnormality.
And her name was Natalie Gregg?
Yes.
And she had passed before you met Ashley, is that right?
Yes, years before.
What did you know about the relationship between Ashley and her ex-husband, Kevin Gregg?
Only some things that Ashley had told me here and there. Things didn't go well, and they ended up getting divorced.
And the ladies and gentlemen of the jury have seen some body cam footage of the day that your wife was murdered and you were shot. And on that, you mentioned that y'all were having some trouble with Kevin Gregg. Can you explain to us what was going on around that time?
I think he just liked trying to give Ashley trouble as much as he could through the legal system, any chance he could. I don't know exactly what all was going on, but she had acquired someone to try to get him back into court about possibly changing up visitation stuff again.
Had Carly ever told you anything about Kevin Gregg using drugs?
Yes.
So he was a known drug user.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you, Heath, about you told us about how much Ashley loved Carly and that Carly was basically her life. Tell us about yours and Carly's relationship before March 19, 2024.
We were always good. We laughed and played and messed around, loved video games, and took her to karate stuff until she kind of got tired of that, and she started going to guitar practice weekly, so I was taking her to that every week. We got along great.
You liked being a stepdad?
Yes.
Sometimes with children comes discipline, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you say, or how would you describe the type of parent that Ashley was to Carly?
She was, like I said, always thinking about Carly and just Carly's first no matter what. She would do anything in the world for her and would try to get the best for her every day.
Were there times that you and Ashley would have to punish Carly?
Of course.
Give us some examples of that, Heath.
She had troubles growing up with back and forth with the stepdad and everything. So she would always wanting to try to make friends at the house and around home. And Ashley was always trying to, keep an eye on her, make sure she was okay and knew where she was. And Ashley had to fuss at her a time or two about, I know you can't go here, you can't go there, it's too late, that kind of thing. But she never really, day to day, got in trouble, really.
I want to ask you, was there a time that a boy named Thad came over to y'all's house?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen what you recall about that day?
We were all sitting at the house and there was a knock at the door, and Ashley checked the doorbell camera and we didn't know who it was. Carly had talked to us about that and we knew who it was. We just didn't have a face to the name. And Carly saw who it was and didn't want to see him. So I went to the door and just said, I'm sorry, I told him you must have the wrong house, and came back in and shut the door.
Where were Ashley and Carly when you were at the front door with Thad?
They went around, I guess, into the hallway or maybe one of the bedrooms, I'm not sure.
At any point, did it appear that Ashley was physically holding Carly back from going to the front door?
No.
At any time after you told told Thad that Carly didn't live there, did Carly act like she was upset with you?
No.
Did she act like she was upset with Ashley?
No.
Do you think that she would have been mad enough to have said, like, she almost murdered y'all because you wouldn't let Thad come in the house?
That's not the feeling I got from it at all.
I want to talk to you about back in 2021. Carly would have been in middle school. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Were they living in the house with you?
Yes,
Carly
ma'am.
and Ashley? Carly was in the 7th grade, I think then.
Sounds right, yes.
Was there an incident where Carly got in trouble for bringing a knife to school?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about what you know about that.
All I know is we had ordered some stuff off Amazon, and since she loved doing all the arts and crafts and stuff in her room all the time, making stuff, I showed her a Swiss Army knife I had found on Amazon like I had when I was young, and she decided on a color of one she wanted, and I ordered it for her, and she used it all the time in her room. And then all of a sudden one day, I found out she had it at school in her pocket and somehow got in trouble with it. And I don't know what happened, but they said they couldn't tell us much more at the school about it. And that's about all I know on it.
Yeah. So the knife was in Carly's pocket, not in her book bag. Is that right?
I was understanding it was in her pocket from that morning when she was using it, but.
And then you didn't actually go to the school for any type of hearing in regards to that, right?
No.
That would have been something that Ashley handled.
If she went up there for that, I don't remember it. No, she might have. I don't know.
What did Carly tell you, or how many days did Carly tell y'all that she had actually brought the knife to school?
I thought it was just that day.
What was the result of her bringing the knife to school?
They have a 0 tolerance policy on that and sent her to an alternative school until I think it was that Christmas break and let her come back.
So she had to spend time at the alternative school as a discipline.
Yes.
What, if anything, Heath, do you know about another time that Carly got in trouble at school for cheating?
That was, I can't remember if it was this past spring semester or when it was. Everything is kind of run together on exactly when. But at some point, she has always complained to us that kids constantly bug her for help with schoolwork because she can do all of it so easily and she can explain it to them better than most teachers. And she got so tired of them coming to her for stuff. Somebody just dared her or something. I'm not sure what. And apparently the teacher had a book or a computer or something open, and she took a picture with her phone of whatever was open up there.
Was it like the answers to a test or something like that? Something
like that. I'm not sure exactly what now, but yes.
And then she shared those answers with other kids?
I assume so, yes, ma'am.
This is at the same school that Ashley taught at?
Yes.
How, from pure observations, how did Ashley respond when that happened?
She was just upset that she had done that, and she, talked to her about, can't be cheating, can't be letting others talk you into things. Just going with the flow of kids is not a good idea usually. So.
Heath, were there other, we talked about Thad. Was there another boy that Carly was in some sort of dating relationship with that y'all knew about?
She had been dating Anthony. Honestly, forgot his last name right now.
That's okay. But you and Ashley knew about him?
Yes, ma'am.
Had he been to y'all's house before?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any time that you or Ashley told Carly, hey, you need to end this relationship with him?
I didn't get into a lot of that. Ashley had talked with Carly about him and, some of the things that was going on, and they had supposedly ended it.
I believe you told, do you recall telling law enforcement that there were times that you and Ashley both would go through Carly's phone?
Yes, we tried to keep an eye on her.
Was there ever a time that you or Ashley took Carly's phone away from her?
So Ashley had the parental controls on her phone, and we got to where we weren't going to let her take it into her room when it was bedtime. Had to keep it like on the kitchen counter, or we'd keep it in our bedroom sometimes. But she had her phone most of the time, so she could be able to call or text us if needed. She might have not let her take it to school some days. I can't remember exactly, but most of the time when she was out and about, she had the phone, even if Ashley locked down some parental controls for a little while.
Why was it that y'all didn't want Carly to have the phone in her room at night?
She was worried that she would stay on it and messing with it and not sleep.
Was there ever a time after y'all thought that Carly had broken up with her boyfriend that y'all learned that in fact she had not broken up with him?
So Ashley worked at the school, and she told me she had still seen them, in the hall together, walking up and down the hall and things. And she talked to me about it and was like, she was okay with it and everything, as long as, it was okay and nothing harmful was coming of it for Carly.
Heath, do you recall a time that you and Ashley discovered that Carly had an iPod that she was using to communicate with people?
Yes, that was another thing that her dad had talked her into doing to get around communication. He was, I think, kind of paranoid about everything, and that Ashley might have been controlling Carly's communication with him, even though she always left those communication channels open, even when she locked down the phone.
Did it appear to y'all that she was in fact talking to her dad on the iPod?
I don't think so.
Who was she communicating with?
I'm not sure if she was communicating with kids so much as she was on like TikTok and some of that kind of stuff.
And y'all had asked her not to be on those accounts?
Yes.
Do you remember when that was, Heath? Around what time of year?
I don't remember that.
Was there ever a time that you and Ashley learned that Carly had been cutting her thighs with a knife?
Yes, and I was trying to think of a time frame on that, but it was, I don't know when, several months back, maybe a year.
And Heath, do you know anything about Carly taking any sleeping pills?
Nothing other than she used to sleep like a rock, and Ashley always had sleeping trouble, and she would take a melatonin at night, and it was a week or so she had a bad cold, and she was taking some NyQuil. I think she said that helped out some too. So
around the time that y'all found the iPod and Carly was cutting her thighs, is that about the same time that Ashley took her for therapy for anxiety and stress?
Within, I don't know, I think that was maybe a couple months maybe before, seems like.
Is that your understanding, though? That's what you told law enforcement of why Carly was in therapy, was anxiety and stress?
Yes, ma'am. It was something like that. I think she was kind of depressed some days.
And I think you told them that there were times that you would go maybe to the therapist's office with her, but you weren't actually sitting in any of those appointments, were you?
No, ma'am. I went up there with them a couple of times, but it was kind of a little waiting room outside.
And you don't have any personal knowledge about any medication that was prescribed, do you?
Not until after this. I knew she'd been on one and they changed her up to something else.
You don't have any knowledge on whether or not Carly was actually taking that medicine, do you?
She had been taking one a day, I think, until they wanted to swap her up to a different one. So I'm not sure on the time frames on that. I'm sure it's in the record somewhere.
Yeah, and Heath, so I've been prescribed medicine before, and sometimes I take it, sometimes I don't. Did you actually see, like physically see Carly taking her medication?
Ashley would have her go get it and make sure she was taking the whatever it was, one a day or whatever. She kept an eye on that.
Do you know if on March the 19th, 2024, did you see Carly take any medicine?
The 19th?
Yeah, March the 19th of 2024.
No, ma'am, not that afternoon.
The morning.
Oh, no, I don't know about that morning. She usually would take it in the evening when she ate,
Okay.
I think.
Sorry, that was a bad question. So Carly would actually
Yeah.
take her medicine in the afternoon.
I think so.
Okay. When's the last time that you saw your wife alive?
That was the morning of the 19th.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen kind of how that morning went?
Everything seemed just as normal as ever. She got up and went to work just like always. She would fix tea or something in the morning and get in the car and take off. Nothing seemed unusual at all.
Did you also see Carly that morning?
Yes.
Can you describe for us what, if anything, you noticed about Carly that morning?
Didn't notice anything different.
How would Ashley get to work every morning?
She'd drive her and Carly down to the school.
And then how would they both ride back together from school to the house?
Yes.
Did they usually leave, or on March the 19th, did they leave before you or after you that morning?
Usually a couple minutes before.
What about not on the 19th, but on a regular day? Would they get home before or after you got home from work?
They were always home before me unless something happened at my work and I was able to get out a minute early, which is very rare.
What time would they usually get home from school?
I'm not sure on that. I don't know, I guess school is out maybe 3:15, I don't know. And it's whatever traffic allows, 15 minutes or something up the road maybe.
Typically, what time do you get home from work?
It varies. Usually I get out of work about 4:30 and sometimes I hit that evening traffic and it's 20 minutes or so before I make it 3 or 4 miles to the house.
And where is your house?
Right off of Old Fanning out in Farmington Station.
That's here in Rankin County?
Yes, ma'am, out towards the reservoir.
And the distance from where you work to where you live is probably only about 5 miles, right?
Yeah, it's not far. It's just morning and evening traffic takes a little while.
Do you know if Ashley and Carly were at school all day on March the 19th?
As far as I know.
I want to ask you, Heath, were there times that you and Ashley would text each other on your cell phone?
Yes.
Do you recall talking to Ashley on March the 19th?
I don't recall other than that evening I got a text saying she was going to go to the grocery store.
Permission to break something, Charlie? Keep that handed back to you. If you don't mind, if you'll look through those messages, please.
Okay.
Do those, and admittedly, these are not all of the messages between you and Ashley Smylie forever, are they?
Right.
Does this appear to be a true and accurate copy of the messages starting at 4:30 that day when she's talking to you about going to Kroger?
It seems to be.
And are we to ask that these messages be marked as the state's next exhibit?
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
What did I say?
It starts at, I think it says 3:20.
And thank you, Heath. You corrected
I'll
me.
be back, but-
Yeah, I apologize, Heath. You're right. The first message I was looking at was actually from the day before. I'm sorry, on 3/18. So on the bottom of that page, your page 2 of that exhibit, what does Ashley say to you? She says, I need to go to Kroger, thinking about going on the way home. Do you want anything?
Yes.
Did that appear to be a normal message that you and Ashley would have with each other?
Yes.
I think then you go on to tell her a couple things that you want. If you'll read for the ladies and gentlemen, kind of just a grocery list, right?
Yeah, just Mountain Dew, some soft serve ice cream, a couple of kinds of bread that I eat, and some random chips, just some junk food stuff.
And again, typical message between you and Ashley.
Yes.
And then at some point, does she respond back to you?
Yes, she replied back later, says gonna go later.
Still sounds like something Ashley would text to you.
Yes.
Tell us about what that next message is that you got from Ashley's phone, Heath.
Said you almost home, honey.
Does that sound like something Ashley would typically say to you?
Not typically, but it wouldn't have been totally out of the realm. I think she would have phrased it slightly different, but I don't know.
What time was that text message sent to you?
That says 4:14.
Do you recall telling law enforcement that you thought that Carly actually sent you that text instead of Ashley?
I was wondering about that one at the time. Yes.
And then what did you respond to that message?
Said, no, I'll be here for a little bit yet. I'm at work.
And then you can't see it on this, but I think maybe Carly or whoever had her Ashley's phone sent you a thumbs up.
Sounds correct. Yes, it's not on there.
So Heath, let me ask you, what made you think that that was Carly that sent that message and not Ashley?
I don't know, just something with the phrasing of it, maybe. I'm not sure.
I want to walk you through prior to March the 19th, 2024, did y'all have any type of surveillance cameras at your house?
Yes, we had a couple things around. The Ring doorbell, well, I'm sorry, it's not a Ring, it was a Wise brand doorbell. Ashley had gotten to see if packages and stuff were being delivered during the day.
Were there other cameras either in the garage or inside the home?
Yes. 1 second.
Take your time.
We had one camera in the kitchen that I had actually gotten years before. I was going to actually put it at my mom's house so she could see what her dog was doing when she went outside. But the internet out there in the country is so slow it wouldn't run. So I had set it up at my house, I guess, well before I had even met Ashley. And it had just been sitting around, you know.
And that was a Wise brand camera also?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if that camera had any kind of like a SD card in it?
Ashley had put an SD card in it at some point, yes.
And I'm not super techie, but an SD card is just kind of something like you put in a regular camera to hold pictures or hold videos. Is that right?
Yes.
Was there any way to tell what time a video popped up from that camera?
That camera was older and had some issues working with the newer software. I'm not sure on that. Ashley had been trying to work with it some, but
Could you, I know I have a security system at my house, and there are times that mine's motion activated and that it'll ding on my phone and I can watch kind of who's outside my house. Did you have that ability?
no.
What about on the inside camera?
Well, the doorbell camera would ding if somebody walked up, like UPS dropping a package off or something, but the inside camera, she never could make it do anything like that. If it had that capability, it wasn't on or working.
So you weren't able to actually watch the inside from an app or anything like that?
I think you could pull up like a live stream on it, but it wasn't like dinging your phone every time the dogs moved in the house or anything like that.
Which is probably a good thing, right?
Right.
So I want to ask Keith, have you ever viewed the footage from the inside cameras from March the 19th of 2024 at your house?
No.
You said that there was also a camera in the garage area?
Yes. Ashley had set that one up maybe a week or something before.
Could you tell the ladies and gentlemen kind of how that camera was activated?
So she actually got that not to use as a camera. She wanted to be able to remotely open and close the garage door and make sure she had remembered to put it down when she left and that kind of thing. And Wise had a camera that you set in your garage that would watch the door. And it knew, to open or close it when you wanted to, and you had a camera as well. So she mounted it on the garage door opener itself.
And that camera, did it also record video and audio?
Yes.
The way that those clips work, how long is each clip on one of those videos?
I would have to go back and look at the time on that. I'm not certain.
Do you have any reason to disagree with the fact that it's like a minute clip at a time?
Perhaps.
Is there any way, other than deleting videos on those computer systems, are you aware of any way that somebody could go in and physically edit a video from that?
Not that I know of.
And Heath, at some point, and I want to talk a little bit about it later, but at some point, did you actually watch some video from the garage camera from March the 19th?
Yes, the Rankin County officers had been all out in the garage looking through stuff, and I just assumed that they had gotten together in the card and everything. And a couple of days after, I guess it was the 21st, somewhere in there, I realized that the card was still in, the SD card was still in the camera in the garage. And I was kind of looking at some of the footage that it might have caught.
Can you tell me, I believe there were 4 videos that may be relevant to March of 19.
That sounds right. Yes, ma'am.
2 videos of Ashley and Carly coming home. Is that right?
I think so.
And then the video camera captures you pulling into the driveway and walking into the home.
Yes.
And then you've seen the last video, and you can't see the shooting, but you can actually hear when you walk into the house, the first gunshot.
Yes, the newer cameras had the ability to start recording when they heard a noise, or I think I've even read where some of them are smart enough to hear the sound of if somebody breaks through a window or something like that, they'll start recording for home security reasons.
So you've actually listened back and watched that particular video?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you about, tell the ladies and gentlemen, Heath, and I know it's probably difficult, you can take as much time as you need. Tell the ladies and gentlemen exactly what you remember about when you came home on March the 19th, 2024.
Everything seemed pretty normal, and I came on in, and when I opened the door to the kitchen there, gun went off in my face before the door was I don't know, 3 or 4 inches wide open. And everything kind of went pretty fast from there. It was a blur. So.
I want to take you back just a step. Yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, saw a bit of a video from inside your house, but just so we're clear, when you say you were coming into the kitchen, I believe you pull into the garage and there's a door that leads from the garage into the home.
Yes.
And then there's a little laundry room area.
Yes.
And then there's another door kind of beside your refrigerator that leads from the laundry room into the kitchen area.
Yes.
Were you coming in the first door or the second door when the gun went off?
The second door from the laundry room to the kitchen.
And do you remember, is there anything you do every day when you come in the house?
Usually stop and take my shoes off there and come on in and change clothes.
Do you remember if you took your shoes off on March the 19th?
I think I did. Yeah.
Was it unusual for that second door to be closed in your house?
Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. We would shut that door a lot of times, trying to keep the sound of the washer and dryer down, or trying to keep one of the dogs out of the garbage can that we had in there.
I have to do something similar. Y'all have 2 large dogs, right?
2 golden retrievers.
And so on that day, the second door was what was closed.
Yes.
I believe you said that you didn't get it open probably 3 or 5 inches before it went off. What did you remember seeing, Heath?
Just gun flash in my face, and it went off 2 more times, but my hand was on the gun after the first shot. I twisted it from her.
Who was pointing that gun at you?
It was Carly.
Who pulled the trigger when you opened the door?
The first one I know was Carly. After that, my hand was on the gun too, and I know I had a scratch on my thumb and all. I very well could have hit it. I know that third time.
How close, Heath, was that gun to your face when that went off?
Maybe a foot.
Did you ever get struck by a bullet?
Yes, one of them kind of grazed right through this muscle up here.
Can you tell, ladies and gentlemen, what did that feel like?
I know this sounds weird, but I honestly have never felt it to this day.
When the gun went off in your face, tell ladies and gentlemen, I mean, was your body in a state of shock?
Not at that moment. I was trying to figure out what was going on.
Did you see anybody inside your home other than Carly?
No.
Walk us through, you said that you were able to at some point get the gun from her. Tell us, Heath, what is it that you remember after that?
She was screaming out of her mind, scared. It was like she had seen a demon or something. She was terrified. And my first thought was there was an intruder somewhere, and she thought she was after somebody else.
And to be clear, Carly never told you that she thought somebody else was in the house, right?
No, that's the feeling that I got. She was terrified out of her mind.
And at that time, you did not yet know that your wife was dead, right?
No, not at that time.
So Carly's scared. She's screaming when she shoots at you. How many shots went off from that gun?
At that time, there was 3.
What type of gun was it that you took from Carly?
It was my Taurus revolver.
And what type of what caliber of weapon is that?
So the gun is a .357 Magnum, but I think it had 38 special rounds in it. You can, if the gun's a 357, it can also shoot 38s, a little bit lighter recoil.
And what color was that gun?
It's just the gun matte silver.
Prior to taking it out of Carly's hand, where was the last time you saw that gun?
I actually kept it on her side of the bed. So it had been there for probably a couple of years.
When you say on her side of the bed, was it on a nightstand or was it somewhere else?
I think she kept it. We had like little cubbies underneath the edge of the bed. The mattress is sitting up on. I think it was sitting up under there.
Between the mattress and the cubbies, like
Well, I
underneath
think
the
it was
mattress?
I think she just had it in a cubby under there.
Was the gun just loose or was it in some sort of holster the last time you saw it?
I do not recall that. It was a while back. It had been sitting for a long time.
Did you have other guns in the house on that day?
Yes, I had an old shotgun that I've had for years that's unloaded in the closet, and I had an AR that I had gotten. It was also unloaded in the closet.
Were there some other guns maybe in a safe too somewhere?
There was a Glock in the safe. There was
Um,
a BB gun probably in the house somewhere too. I don't know.
do you know if Carly knew the location of any of those guns?
She probably knew about the two in the closet, but like I said, they were unloaded. And the last time I had tried to talk her into shooting, she was too little to even hold them up. They're heavy, big.
And you had several guns in your house. Did you and Ashley ever go shoot guns?
Yes, we did.
That was something y'all enjoyed doing together.
Yes.
When you took the gun out of Carly's hand, what did you do with the gun?
I was holding on to it, and like I said, I at that time thought there might be someone else in the house, like an intruder or something. So I immediately started checking the house and looking for Ashley.
Did you attempt to call Ashley also?
I did.
I want to take just a step back, Heath. You get the gun from Carly. You said that she was screaming. What did she do next?
She fell back into the kitchen island, just kind of straight back onto her butt, and was screaming, jumped up, ran out the back door. And I mean, I'm still pretty quick and agile, but I knew I couldn't catch her. She was moving so fast. She ran out the back and took off, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to catch her, so I turned around, stepped back in, and I locked the back door behind me.
Do you know why you locked the back door?
Because I was thinking there might be someone else out and about and around, in or out of the house. So I went to checking the house.
Do you remember telling anybody that you were in such shock that you didn't even try to shoot Carly back or anything like that?
No, it was very evident to me immediately that something was very, very off with Carly. The way she was screaming, the way she looked, she was moving so fast.
So, Heath, you said Carly is at this point, she's out of the house, she's run off. You never actually saw someone, other than Carly at the house, right?
No.
So you locked the back door, you're going through the house, you have this firearm still in your hand. At any point, did you open up the firearm?
I opened the cylinder on it to check to see how many had been used or was left in it. I closed it back up and started checking the house.
When you opened it back up, how many live rounds did it appear were left in the gun?
Just one.
And how many rounds does that .357 Magnum revolver hold?
It's a 7-shot.
So you knew that she'd fired, at that point, you knew she'd fired 3 at or in your direction.
Yes,
You did not know what the other 3 had been used for.
correct.
The last time you saw that gun, were all 7 rounds live?
As far as I know, I guess the last time it had been used was a couple years before, or sometime when Ashley had shot at some, and I assume she had reloaded it.
So Heath, you're walking through the house. You have this gun, afraid that maybe there's somebody else in the house. You said, I believe that you tried to call Ashley.
Yes.
Did she answer?
No.
Did you find her phone?
Found her phone. It was on the counter in our living room.
Was there a second phone beside it?
Yes.
Did you recognize the other phone?
I didn't really stop to look.
So you realize that Ashley's phone is there. Walk us through what happened next, Heath.
I checked our bedroom, bathroom, closet, other side of the bed, under the desk in there, and turned and started looking, going towards the other end of the house. And I glanced in our spare little 3rd bedroom, and then turned and went into Carly's room. And that's where I found Ashley.
Heath, when you found Ashley, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen what you saw?
She was laying on her back and had her hands kind of across her, and a towel over her face.
Do you remember what color the towel was?
I do not.
Heath, when you saw her laying there, what's the very next thing that you did?
Checked her pulse, see, and kind of moved the towel, and then called 911.
And Heath, when you moved the towel, what did you see?
I knew she had been shot. There was blood around, but I don't really recall exactly where. Somewhere in the right side of her face there.
You said you called 911.
Yes.
What did you tell the 911 operator had happened?
I tried to immediately tell him I needed the police out, that my wife had been killed and I had been shot.
Do you remember telling them who had shot you?
I assume I said Carly on there, but I don't remember exact details.
Do you recall telling the 911 operator that, oh my God, she's killed her mother too?
I don't recall saying that, but it's very possible, I guess.
At that point, Heath, did you think that Carly was the one that had killed her mother?
I didn't know what was going on at that point. I kind of went into shock there.
At some point, and again, the ladies and gentlemen, Heath, have seen some of the body cam footage from that day, but at some point, someone from the sheriff's department does come to your house.
Yes.
Walk us through what you remember happening once he gets there.
I don't know much there other than I got out the front door and just laid down on the front porch.
And it's pretty safe to say that you were still in a state of shock.
Yes.
At some point, were you loaded up by the paramedics?
Yes.
And where did they take you?
Took me to Baptist Hospital ER.
And what was the reason for taking you to Baptist Hospital?
They wanted to get me checked out and make sure everything was okay. They they knew it wasn't real bad or anything, so they're just trying to be cautious.
But you had in fact suffered a gunshot wound.
Yes, they got me down to the ER and they put a piece of gauze, taped some gauze on it, and sent me back home.
And it went through your kind of right, like trap muscle
Yes.
area. How far? I mean, not to pick on you, you don't look like a very large man. He's pretty average size. I mean, would you agree with me that where your trap muscle is and your head are about 6 inches apart?
No, I guess, yes.
So that shot was pretty close to your head.
It's close, yes.
You were the gunshot actually, thank goodness, went kind of through and through, right?
Yes.
So you didn't require any surgery to remove the projectiles.
No.
In fact, Heath, I think you were actually, excuse me, I think you were actually released to go home that evening.
Yes, they, like I said, they taped a piece of gauze on me, and I don't remember them doing a whole lot else.
And the night was probably pretty hectic as far as telling people what happened and what was going on. At any point, did you ever tell anyone that it was someone other than Carly Gregg that had shot you or Ashley?
Not that I recall, no, ma'am.
And to this day, you've not told anyone that you think that the person that shot you or shot Ashley was somebody other than Carly, have you?
No.
We talked a little bit about law enforcement being at the house that night. At some point, they kind of released the scene back over to you, right?
Yes, I think when I returned back from the ER, they had finished up and cleared out, and there was a guy had me sign a paper and went on back in.
Kind of saying the things that they'd taken from the home that night.
Yes, ma'am.
Heath, I mean, you go back home and they've taken some things out, but of course there's still, I mean, clear evidence that a murder had happened there, right?
Yes.
At some point, do you notify law enforcement about the garage camera?
Yes, on, I think it was Friday morning, I was looking through that SD card to see if it had caught anything. And of course the cops were looking all around everywhere in the garage for various things and had apparently not seen the camera. And they found the 4 videos that you referenced, and I called and told them I had found something else and needed to come pick it up or whatever. And they had still, at that time, not returned my driver's license to me. So they decided to bring that out.
And at some point, they did actually get those videos from you.
Yes.
And to be clear, there was some confusion about an Apple computer and copying
Yes,
versus
I
cutting.
had
Sorry.
moved those 4 videos over to my computer. I was just going to let them have the card with everything on it. And when I moved them over, it pulled them off the card onto the computer rather than like a copy and paste and making a copy onto mine. So the officers came back in and were talking to me about tampering with evidence and possible charges of messing with evidence, even though I called them out there to come get the card.
And to be clear, I don't think they ever told you they were going to charge you with tampering. They just explained that they didn't want it to look like somebody might have done that, correct?
No, he said we're trying to avoid having to charge you with tampering with evidence.
Okay. At that point, you're still pretty much in a state of shock, right?
Yes, there was 4 or 5 of them in my bedroom.
And in fact, if that was said to you, that would certainly not be indicative of what you would want to, how you would want to be treated, right?
I didn't know. I was just trying to be helpful at that point and figure out what had happened or why.
And I believe even on that day and after that, you did still continue to assist law enforcement in the investigation, right?
Yes.
At some point, you decided that you no longer wanted to communicate with the state or law enforcement, right?
Yes. After a few things that had happened, I went and got a lawyer.
Let's see. You talked about you told us about the garage camera and the incident. And to be clear, this was just an honest mistake. And I think that was relayed even by the officer and you, that this was, instead of copying and pasting something, you accidentally cut and pasted something.
Yeah, I mean, that's a new laptop that was sitting there. I was guided rather than a Windows computer this time to try out. And when I realized that mistake, I said, you can take the whole computer, just whatever, and I had it sitting there open. So he just moved it over, got on the computer and moved it over himself, one of them.
At that time, no one had been able to find the camera from the kitchen. Is that right?
Correct.
Where all, if you would tell ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we knew the camera was missing. Where all did you look for that camera?
Everywhere I could possibly think of. I looked high and low through the whole house. I mean, I wasn't looking just for the physical camera. I mean, it's a little shorter than that water bottle probably, but I was looking through small stuff, even for the SD cards, like they're the size of your thumb, postage stamp size maybe. And I was looking in shoes and boots and clothes drawers and pockets of clothes. I looked through every tiny little shred of garbage before I let any garbage go out of the house. I don't know, I guess it was that Friday garbage comes through. Everywhere I could look for, and I continued to look for it for a long time.
And law enforcement had been at your house and also had searched kind of high and low in the home looking for that too, right?
After I got them to actually, look for it the second time around, they didn't seem to be too interested in finding it at first.
Are you aware that they also went and searched outside, looking everywhere between your home and where Carly was found?
I know they looked in the backyard, and one of them was kind of looking over the fence just to see if anything had been thrown anywhere.
At some point, was that camera found?
Yes, I later found it. As a lot of y'all know, when something happens, everybody always brings tons of food over. And the refrigerator had gotten just packed full of stuff. And we were slowly trying to clean that stuff out and get rid of it over time. And I found the camera back. It was actually back behind some water bottles, about like that, in the back of the fridge.
Was that the same day, Heath, that law enforcement had been looking for the camera at the house?
Yes, that's the third time they came out to search the house and the yard and all around. They searched and didn't find anything.
Who was there when you, who found the camera?
I did.
Who was there when you found it, Heath?
My mom was there, and like I said, law enforcement had just left a few minutes before.
And based off your prior conversation with them, you wanted to make sure that they were in fact the ones that came and got it, that you
Yes.
didn't mess with it, right?
Correct.
And so what did you do to let them know that you'd found the camera?
I called back the number that I had for Mr. Zach Cotton, and I don't know, I guess that goes to a front desk, and they had to patch me through somehow, or he called me back or something. I don't remember.
And what's your understanding of who Zach Cotton is?
He had given me his card to contact him. I'm just assuming he was like the main investigator.
And I want to take you back a step, and we'll come back to the camera, Heath. I mean, you had actually come into the sheriff's department and given an interview with Investigator Cotton, right?
Yes.
And that was before this had happened.
I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
And that's when you told him that Carly was in therapy for stress and anxiety.
Yes.
How long, do you know how long that camera had been in the refrigerator?
I don't know.
Did you put that camera in the refrigerator?
No.
Based off what you know, how do you think that camera got put in the refrigerator?
I'm assuming that,
Objection to speculation, Your Honor.
yeah.
Sustained.
I'll rephrase the question. When's the last time you saw that camera plugged in at your house?
I guess previous day, it might not have noticed if it had been gone then, but I'm assuming it was there the previous day.
And when you got home on March the 19th, 2024, was that camera still attached in the kitchen?
No.
And who was the only person besides your deceased wife that had been in your home that afternoon
Well,
that you knew of?
at that time, Carly, but we since found out there was another person in there.
And do you, as you sit here today, you have no knowledge that that person moved anything in your house, right?
I don't know if anybody knows.
Sure.
I don't know.
Had she been over to your house before, the other girl?
Carly had a couple friends over a time or two, and I do believe she had been there once before, yes.
Did she have any like direct interaction with you when she was there?
No, I was laying on the couch when a bunch of them came through and said, hey, and they were in Carly's room or messing around in the backyard some of the time.
When you left for work on March 19th, 2024, did you ever see that morning or the night before, had you seen any empty vape pen boxes?
No.
If they had been sitting, if they were found at the desk in your bedroom, would you have seen those before you left for work?
I would believe so.
Do you know anything about Carly using drugs, Heath?
I had no idea of it until the events of I guess until the second police search.
And what are you referencing when you talk about the second search?
When they came back, I guess it was Friday, so after the murder had taken place, and they came out with a couple of things out of Carly's room that we had no clue of. So I don't know anything about them. It was new to me.
When you told law enforcement that you'd found the camera in the refrigerator, at that point, did you give them consent to kind of see what was on that camera?
Yes. He had me sign something as he was taking it, so I assume that was consent.
I want to take you back to the interview that you gave with Investigator Cotton, and you probably don't remember the contents of all that, right? It was,
Not at this time. I think we were in there for a while and covered a lot.
do you remember talking to him about what might have been stressing Carly out at the time?
I don't remember that conversation, no.
Do you remember him asking you, kind of midway toward the end of the conversation about if there was anything else that you knew about Carly or about what was going on that might be helpful to their investigation?
Again, I don't remember at this point what was said there. I know y'all probably got a record of it, but I don't recall.
And that's okay. When traumatic things happen, our bodies respond in certainly different ways. And you know, I don't think anyone in this room wants to experience what you've experienced. And so I don't expect you to remember everything. You had a lot of questions on that day, right, about what happened.
Yeah.
Heath, at some point, there was a no contact order put in place between you and Carly.
Yes.
Did you ask the court to lift that?
Yes.
And since that time, you've had contact with her?
Yes.
At any time during your communication with Carly, has she told you that she was not the person that killed her mother?
No. We have not had any kind of conversation, anything like that. Nothing to do with the case or the trial.
Do you see Carly in the courtroom, Heath?
Yes.
If you could you point her out?
Right there.
And could you tell me where at that table that you pointed at that she's sitting?
She's in between Mr. Camp and Miss Todd in black.
And is that the same person that shot you with that .357 Magnum on March the 19th, 2024?
Yes.
May the record reflect that the defendant's identified that the witness has identified the defendant. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor. Thank you, Heath.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it's 10:30. It's about time for we'll take a mid-morning break and a mid-afternoon break. If y'all would, go on ahead. I'm going to have you step to the back to the jury room, use the restroom, get any coffee, get any water that you need, okay? When we get back, we'll go till lunchtime, all right? Everyone remain seated while the jury exits. All right, the record will reflect we're outside the presence of the jury. Mr. Smylie, we're going to take a break. If you want to use the restroom, one of the bailiffs will show you to a restroom in the back. But I don't want you discussing the case with anyone in between. As soon as you're finished using the restroom, they'll bring you back up here, okay? But no discussions about the case, not with me, not with anybody, okay?
Yes,
all right, for everybody else, it's 10:32. We'll be in recess till 10:45.
All right, so that is where we are at right now. Heath Smylie is on the stand. They are taking a quick recess. So the state just interviewed the witness and just basically asking him what he remembers from that day, what happened, what he saw, what happened with the security cameras. There's a lot of interesting information that he said. Of course, said that day after that the crime happened, he found the security camera that was in the kitchen, that was installed in the kitchen, was in the back of his refrigerator. He found it, was not able to find it. Mentioned having a camera in the where was it, in the garage that they had, that Ashley had put up maybe a week prior to her death. But something that he mentioned that was really interesting to me, and a lot of you caught this too. I'm looking at the comments here on our stream from Facebook and YouTube. A lot of you caught this. When the Catherine Newman, who is the ADA for Rankin County, she asked him about the 911 call. Did he remember making the 911 call? What happened leading up to it? All that stuff. He stated that he had called 911 after seeing and finding Ashley on the floor, that there was a towel over her. But during the call that we heard yesterday, the 911 call that we heard yesterday, it sounded as if during the call that he discovered her body on Carly's bedroom floor in the midst of that 911 call. That is what it seemed like in the call that was played yesterday, as opposed to what he testified to just now on the stand. And I'm not saying that he did that intentionally. That was an intentional lie, because as the ADA said a few moments ago, when you are in a situation of trauma, something like that, everybody responds differently. Everybody's brain reacts differently. Your emotions react different. It's just different. You're going to do it different based off one person to the next. All right. So maybe he was just in a moment of shock when, obviously had to have been in a moment of shock when that happened, when he was shot, when he come home and was shot, discovered his wife's body. So he may be misremembering things. Was he in the courtroom yesterday when the 911 call was played? I don't know. We don't know that. I can find that information out and see if that happened, if he was, but we don't know that right now. So saying all that, everybody responds differently to trauma. They react differently. They remember differently. So this could be just a symptom of that. But it was something that I noticed. That was something that a lot of you noticed in the comments. So looking here at what you guys have to say, and you have a lot to say. A lot of you have a lot of comments. Audrey Washington saying, I keep telling you guys something is stinky. Don't know. We're watching it and we're going to see how it plays out. Definitely see how it plays out. Looking, and if you guys have any other comments or thoughts or questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. I do appreciate you watching. I appreciate you interacting and, getting to talk with you, getting to hear what your thoughts are, what you have to say. Trina saying, I doubt he was in there. Normally you're sequestered in another area. And that is true. That is true, Trina. I am going to reach out to Morgan Harris in just a little bit. She's our reporter who is there in the courtroom, and just ask her to see if he was. I don't know that he may have seen it or listened to it prior to that, to today. I don't know. But we'll see if he was in the courtroom. This is a very good point, Brittany. Watch what I say. The family members could be watching. Be respectful. Thank you for that. That is a very good reminder for everyone. Be respectful. You don't know who's watching this. And it could just not be family members. It could be teachers, former co-workers of Ashley, students of Ashley, friends of Carly. There's so many people that could be watching this. So we do want to be respectful. Carmen saying, how does the camera end up in the fridge? Possibly Carly took it down. Possibly Carly put it in the refrigerator before Heath came home. I don't know. If she took it down, and if it was recording when she took it down, or when whoever took it down, based off of the security cameras that I have in my home. All right, let me put that is what my knowledge is based off of here. But if the security camera is filming and someone goes to unplug it, it's going to record and capture that moment up until it is taken out of power, right? So if Carly approached it to disconnect it, wouldn't the camera have caught that and recorded that and saved it? I don't know. It would have on mine. I do not have the camera that he has. So it is completely different. So Nicole is asking what was on the camera. So this camera that we're talking about, the one that was in the refrigerator that Heath found when he was in the refrigerator, that camera was the one that was up in the kitchen that did not capture the shooting, but it did capture the sound of the shooting, captured that happened. Also captured Carly texting her stepfather from her mother's phone, captured her calling friends, trying to get them to come over, saying that she had an emergency, captured Carly playing with the dogs while she was waiting for her friend and her stepfather to arrive, captures all of that. You can see on the camera, according to the opening statements that happened yesterday, what the Rankin County ADA said, Catherine Newman, she said that on the camera, you can see Carly coming out and kind of peeking around a corner with something behind her back, allegedly assuming it was the gun, the 357 that was behind her back, but said you can see her peeking around the corner to see if her mother was still in her bedroom. And you can see where she looks like she is trying to hide the gun from the view of the camera. That is what the ADA said in her opening statements yesterday. So let's see. Michaela is asking here, what's weird was him cutting and copying the video. That's definitely tampering. And it could be, but there's we don't know if that was intentional as well. There are so many people who don't who really don't understand the simple process of just copying and pasting or moving something over. I know even on my computer, there is one certain file. Well, if I move something from one document file to another, it completely takes it out of one and moves it into the other one. However, if I go to open another document file and I go to move a file out of that to another file, it makes a copy of it and it stays in both of them. So it could be literally just a computer thing there. That's my personal information, personal thing. That's what happens with mine sometimes. So I can see where that could have happened. Don't know that it was intentional or anything like that. Let's see. Courtney Peterson is asking, will today be the last day of trial? I doubt it, Courtney. During the pretrial hearings, both of the attorneys on the defense and prosecution side both said that they believe that the trial could last 3 to 5 days. We are in day 2 right now. The judge did say yesterday before he went into recess overnight that we were moving at a pretty good clip, is what he said. So a pretty good pace here. So it is possible that something could happen and it could end today, but I don't believe that is going to happen. I believe at the earliest that tomorrow would be the last day of trial, but that's, pure speculation. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with all the witnesses. I know that the state had 55 witnesses down to call. The defense had 9 witnesses, originally 9 witnesses down to call. One of those witnesses was struck. So they only have 8 witnesses to call to the stand. So we've got still a lot of stuff to get into with this trial today, and possibly tomorrow. There's a lot to get into. Still don't have full answers as to why this happened, why Carly did this. We know that Carly was doing drugs. We know that she had burner phones, that she was, I say we know this. It has been testified that is what we will hear from witnesses, that she was doing drugs, had a burner phone, that she was harming herself, self-harm, that she was on medication, lots of medication for mental issues, that according to what has been said here in the trial, that she comes from a family that had history of this, not just on maternal, but also on paternal side. We've heard here, even with Heath Smylie's testimony earlier, speaking on Carly having a little sister who died from a genetic disorder several years ago. Carly had to watch that happen. Carly's, according to Heath Smylie, Carly's biological father had caused some issues with the custody and divorce and things such as that. He stated while he was on stand here that the biological father had was trying to make ways to circumvent Ashley Smylie, trying to according to Heath, the biological father believed that Ashley was trying to keep Carly from communicating with him. And so the biological father gave Carly a burner phone or an iPod or something along those lines so that she could communicate with him. This is what Heath has said. I'm not saying that this is true. This is just what he testified to. So right now they are in recess. Judge says they will be back to from recess at 10:45. It is 10:43 right now, so that should be recess should be ending in just a moment. And then they're going to go until lunchtime. They'll break for lunch, and then they'll come back after lunch. Terry D. Williams is saying, will Carly take the stand? I do not know. I did not see the complete witness list. I don't know if they plan to call Carly, if she plans to come up and speak on her own defense. She's been very emotional this trial. I don't know. I don't know how that would work for her, how the perception of that, the optics of that would be. But I don't know. Don't know. We are definitely going to be here to watch it. Looking here. Michaela saying here, I feel like the dad had a part. That's just my opinion. Michaela, do you mean the stepfather or biological father? Biological father was not there. I think, okay, here she clarified stepdad. There we go. Just I'm looking at your comments here. Olivia is saying, because why would you tamper with evidence knowing they need that for evidence? Well, if he was trying, according to Heath Smylie's testimony, he was trying to get the video off of that camera that was in their garage and move it onto a thumb drive to give to the the police officers, and that there was a mess up or an issue or something with the transferring of that. So they had to come back to his home to get the stuff off of his computer. So that is what I remember. He was trying to take it from the thumb drive or the SD card and put it on his computer so that he had it, but though that he also gave the cops, the police officers, a copy of it or gave them the SD card. And when he moved it to his computer, it moved it off of the SD card. So that's why they ended up having to come back and say, it's not here, and talk about the tampering with evidence thing. And here we go, saying, but a camera was set up in the garage a week before this happened. And that does sound, it does sound suspicious, but according to Heath Smylie, it was Ashley who had set that camera up so that she could have access to see if the garage door was open or closed, so that she could close it, I believe, from the camera. I'm not sure, but it would also tell if whether or not the garage door was open or closed. I did see the judge just go back in, so I'm assuming, and it's 10:46. They were supposed to be done with recess at 10:45. So we're going to go ahead and go back into the courtroom. So when they zoom out and get things going again, you will be in there and be able to catch it all.
Are you doing cross or is Mr. Camp? All right, bring him in. He'll just slide in. He'll just slide in the council table. Cross-examination by the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Smylie, we heard a lot of testimony on your direct with the prosecutor regarding the garage videos and what was on the garage videos, and you transferring the garage videos to a flash drive for the police. Did you have an opportunity before you were transferring them over to view those garage videos?
Yes, the 4 from that afternoon I had seen, yes.
And we talked a lot about them on direct, but we're going to go ahead and play those for the jury so that everybody can.
Let's practice real quick. By agreement of the parties, this exhibit will be marked as S9 and admitted for all purposes. Does anybody have the CD sleeve?
I gave it to Richard.
I think it's over here.
This is what we'll do. We'll mark the sleeve. And then Mr. Livingston, as soon as they're finished, we'll get the DVD out. Oh, it's in there. Okay. You may proceed. Does the defense wish to publish this?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Smylie, is that a true and accurate representation of what you recall once you got home that afternoon?
Yes.
Who was that screaming that we heard on the video?
That was Carly screaming, and you heard me holler, "What's the matter?"
And what about seeing Carly made you ask her what was wrong?
I could immediately tell that something was bad wrong with Carly. Just the screaming, her eyes were just huge. Looked like she was terrified.
Have you ever heard Carly scream like that before?
No,
Have you ever seen Carly look as terrified as she did on March 19th before?
no,
Would Carly have any reason to run from you?
no.
Mr. Smylie, can you describe the full floor plan at your house?
I guess it's what you call split. And it's got kind of on the north end, it's a master bedroom, bath, and closet. Living room and kitchen kind of in the middle, and then on the other end there's two smaller bedrooms that share a bathroom in between the two.
And where was Carly's bedroom?
It was on the southeast end of the house.
And
corner.
you mentioned that there was where Carly's bedroom was, there was also a bathroom and another room.
Yes.
What did you use that other bedroom for?
A lot of just general storage stuff, and had some weights, and there's a little treadmill in there.
Kind of what we call like a junk room.
Yeah, a lot of junk in the closet on a shelf and laying around.
And is there a hallway that separates the kitchen and the living room from that side of the house?
Yes.
And where was the indoor camera located?
It was in the corner of the kitchen/dining room open area.
And is the kitchen, living room area of your house, is that open?
Yes.
And let me ask you this. How would you describe your and Ashley's marriage?
We got along great. We, I don't guess we ever really had anything we just disagreed on or anything.
And were you still in your honeymoon phase?
Yeah.
And just for the record, you can't nod. You have to answer yes or no for the court reporter.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And what, if anything, had Carly told you about her biological dad, Kevin Gregg, doing drugs?
Everyone that I can think of, it sounds like he has either tried or does regularly.
And what did Carly tell you about her biological dad doing drugs in her presence?
He was constantly doing drugs in front of her, blowing smoke in her face. Turns out that he sat her down and made her drink an entire beer when she was 12.
And what, if anything, had Carly told you about her dad offering her drugs during her visitation periods?
Not sure on that, but I think she said they were laying around all over the place throughout his house. And I think he had tried to get her to do some various things at one point or another.
And would you say that Carly was scared of her dad?
Yes. She did not like having to go up there, and she was not herself for a day or two after coming back.
Okay. And would you say that Carly's mom was scared of her dad?
Yes. Anytime they spoke of him, it was like deer in the headlights. They would freeze up and be shaking sometimes if they were talking about him.
And how would you describe Carly's relationship with her mom during the time that you came into her life in spring of 2019 to March 19th of 2024?
They got along great, loved doing things together. They liked a lot of the same movies, and they'd go shopping together, and they stayed together quite a bit.
Pretty tight bond.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that Ashley was protective of Carly because she'd lost a child already?
Yes, she wanted the best for Carly, watched over her all the time. Yes.
And is it fair to say because Ashley was protective of Carly that she was a little on the stricter side with things like social media?
She was. Yeah, she, would read all the bad things that happened in the news on all that, and she didn't care for any of it. And I think TikTok's probably one of the ones that she didn't care for.
And TikTok was what Carly had put on the iPod, the old iPod.
Yes, just watching the usual stupid videos.
Yeah. And we've heard the phrase burner phone a few times, but when we're hearing burner phone, are we talking about the old iPod?
Yes.
Okay. So the burner phone is the old iPod she had that she somehow downloaded social media apps to.
Yes.
Okay. And Carly was in 10th grade at the time that you guys found the iPod
Yes.
with the social media apps.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Would you say that most 10th graders want to be on social media?
Calls for speculation.
Were there any other social media apps Carly had on the iPad?
I can't remember at this time. Ashley had taken care of all that. She was way more tech savvy with that stuff than I am.
Had you and Ashley already found the old iPod?
Yes, we had. She had found it and figured out what was going on. Yeah.
And when did you guys discover the old iPad that's called people have been calling the burner phone?
I'm just going to say sometime last fall. I don't know the exact time frame.
So not in March.
No.
And we talked about an incident with Carly looking on her teacher's computer at school. Did Carly need to cheat to get good grades?
No, she loved school, but she was almost bored with school a lot of days. It was, even though she was in the advanced classes, she's a light year ahead of everything they're teaching. Anything new she picks up and just wants to be a step ahead of the teachers.
And hadn't Carly told you about that incident that the kids in her class had dared her to?
Yes, they had. Yeah, they had. She told us about it.
Okay. And how would you describe your relationship with Carly?
All good. We've gotten along from the beginning. Hadn't really had any problems between us.
And do you have any other children?
No.
And would you say that you love Carly the same as you would a biological child?
Yes.
Okay. And what, if anything, had Ashley told you about her ex-husband's mental health issues?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
What, if anything, had Carly told you?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Have you ever had any interactions with Mr. Gregg?
No, other than I would see him in the car picking up or dropping Carly off. And a lot of times he would drop her off and leave, wouldn't even check to see if she was getting in the house.
Okay. And you said that the handgun that was used in this incident on March 19th was kept under Ashley's side of the bed?
Yes.
Was it kept in a lockbox or anything like that?
No, she just had it under, she had the little cubbies and all we had built out for kind of storage. She had set it under there.
And Why was she sleeping with a loaded handgun under her side of the bed?
She was terrified that the ex was going to show up one day, and she wanted that there.
Now, in the time that you've known Carly, the 3.5 years from spring of 2019 to March 19th of 2024, had you ever seen Carly be violent?
No,
Had there ever been any incidents in which Carly was in trouble for being violent?
not that I know of.
Okay. Had you ever seen Carly enraged?
No.
Had you ever seen Carly get mad?
No, she'd get frustrated with something every now and then if she couldn't make something work like she wanted to, or something in a video game. But she would work at it over and over and over till she figured it out and got it.
Okay. Had Carly been having any trouble at school?
No,
Had she been having any trouble with friends?
not that I know of.
And you mentioned that Carly had a boyfriend at school, and at first Ashley didn't like it, but then she was okay.
Yes.
Why did Ashley first have a problem with Carly having this boyfriend at school?
Just in general, she had told her she didn't want her dating until she was 16 or so, at least, and just trying to watch over her.
And do you recall a statement that you made to law enforcement back on March 19th about y'all been having problems with Carly?
Again, I don't remember exactly what all I told them at this point.
Okay. What, if any, issues had you and Ashley been having with Carly?
Just not really any problems with her, other than I think she was kind of at times depressed, or she's a teenage girl, maybe emotional, but she ended up, we got her to a clinic up close to her, I guess it's in Madison there, to let her talk with a therapist.
Okay. And what had led you and Ashley to decide to put Carly in counseling?
She just didn't seem like she was her normal happy peppy self. She was just kind of depressed and sitting around more, and she she said she thought talking to somebody might help her.
Had you noticed anything else that was going on with Carly that concerned you at that time?
Not that I recall. She was kind of having problems with time management kind of stuff, and maybe remembering a couple things, which is a little unusual for her with schoolwork stuff.
Can you tell me about the issues she was having with remembering things?
Just
Mr. Smylie, can you describe the depth of your injury that you sustained on March 19th?
It's just a spot went through my edge of the upper trap muscle right there, and kind of zipped right through. And like I said, oddly enough, I know it sounds weird, but I've never really felt it or had any trouble with it.
Did you require stitches?
No.
I think we heard an officer on one of the other cameras call it grazed. Is that a fair description?
I guess, yes.
And Mr. Smylie, do you have any idea why Carly would want to shoot you?
No.
And we all heard Carly screaming when you walked into the garage, from the garage into the kitchen on March 19th. How did Carly appear to you when you walked in?
Like I said, my initial thoughts were she was terrified, scared out of her mind. I still, to this day, don't think she ever even recognized me. Something was wrong there. I don't know what, but something was off.
And when you walked into the house, did Carly say anything to you?
No, just was screaming.
Did she say anything in response to your question? What's wrong?
No.
Is that like the Carly that you had known for the past 3 years?
No, not at all.
Did Carly ever have any interest in guns?
No. Ashley had wanted her to go shooting with us a time or two, and I had tried to, get her to shoot a couple different times. And I think Ashley or somebody might have taken pictures the time or two that she went, but that was it. And she never was interested in going when myself and Ashley went.
And in all the time that you've known Carly, would you describe her as callous?
No.
Would you describe her as calculating?
No, except with math.
Would you describe her as diabolical?
No.
How would you describe Carly?
She's just a sweet little girl ever since I've known her. And, even when we take her to the playground, instead of running around playing, a lot of times she would be pushing other kids on the swing and the little, I don't know what they're called, little roundabout things that kids get on and go in a circle. She'd be the one that'd be pushing groups of kids rather than her playing. She'd go find the younger ones to try to help take care of them, and she's just sweet.
And are you aware of any medication Carly had been placed on?
And I can't remember the names of which one was which. She had been placed on one by the therapist that they had started her on something.
And do you recall what that medication was for?
Whatever they thought it was, whether it was, I don't know, just generalized stress or depression, or I don't know what they were thinking it was.
Okay. And do you recall how many medications that she'd been on?
I know she was on one, and then approximately the week before the 19th, they swapped her to another one.
Okay. And with the first medication that Carly was on, did you notice any changes in her personality or demeanor?
No.
And with the second medication that Carly was on, did you notice any changes in her personality or demeanor?
No. She had only had a chance to be on it for a handful of days. I don't know exactly how many days, but if she was just getting started on it.
And do you and Carly still have a relationship?
Yes, I think we're good.
And how frequently do you and Carly talk?
Just about every day now. I don't always get off of work in time to catch her on a phone call, but we or text some back and forth over the app that's allowed, and we talk over the video chat thing that's allowed through the jail and on weekends. So we're good.
Prior to March 19th, had you ever been afraid of Carly?
No,
Are you afraid of Carly today?
no,
Prior to March 19th, had Ashley ever been afraid of Carly?
Objection, Your Honor, cause for speculation.
Sustained.
Based on your observations and personal knowledge, had Ashley ever appeared to be afraid of Carly?
Objection, Your Honor, again, cause for speculation.
Your Honor, he can say what he observed.
Y'all arguing in front of the jury. Y'all approach. All right, the objection is going to be overruled. You can answer the question based on your observation and personal knowledge. Did Ashley appear to be afraid of Carly?
no, not at all.
And you testified on direct that you had retained your own attorney after the investigation of this matter got started. And you said that that was because you had been concerned or felt worried that you were going to be charged with a crime?
Yes, the cops had insinuated the tampering with evidence. They held my license for several days, wouldn't bring it back. I kind of think it now that they were maybe trying to keep me
Objection, Your
around.
Honor, cause for speculation.
That's sustained. You can testify to what you observe, but you can't testify to what you think other people would do, okay?
And then I went and got a lawyer from there.
And why would you have tried to hide evidence that you were telling law enforcement about?
I have no idea. I was trying to find anything I could that might help out and figure out what or why.
Was law enforcement aware that there was a garage camera on March 19th?
I don't believe so. They were all around out there apparently looking at stuff. I don't know, 5 or 6 of them, and they never saw the camera or never bothered to mess with it, more than likely.
Had any members of law enforcement asked you about any cameras?
No, not that I recall.
And you spoke on direct examination about them turning the house back over to you. About how long did law enforcement have your house under investigation on March 19th?
I had been down to the ER and back a couple hours, 2.5 hours roughly maybe, because it had gotten dark by the time I got back there.
And how many times after March 19th did law enforcement issue search warrants to come back out?
2 more times.
Okay. And during those 2 other times, now making 3 times that law enforcement investigated your house, did anyone find the camera in the fridge?
No, they did not.
Okay. And they didn't ask about any cameras in the garage?
No.
No. So you were very forthcoming with this evidence?
Yes.
And you also had your attorney file a motion to rescind the no contact order between you and Carly, correct?
Yes.
Had you asked that that be done beforehand?
Yes, I had tried to get my first attorney to get some of that in motion, and I don't know what happened there. It kind of fell through.
And has anyone else made you feel intimidated during the course of this investigation?
I was told by the DA's office that I couldn't contact anyone else, like y'all that were working with her about anything, couldn't speak with anyone else. And then
You were told you
Objection, Your Honor, we approach.
Sure. Stay. You proceed.
So it's understandable that you would be a little guarded
Yes.
and that this has been a long, ongoing investigation and it's hard to talk about this stuff emotionally.
Yes, at times, worse than others.
And that you have been interviewed about this previously.
Yes.
So you're having to go back over the same stuff repeatedly.
Yes.
And it's hard to testify. It's nerve-wracking.
It is.
And this is being televised and broadcast, and there's been a lot of scrutiny, so it's understandable that you would be guarded and nervous while testifying.
Correct.
Thank you for court's indulgence. Please enter the witness.
Redirect examination.
Heath, how many phones did you know of that Carly had?
I just knew of the one that we had gotten for her.
And so if law enforcement had 2 phones they recovered belonging to Carly from the scene, that would in fact be more phones than you knew about, right?
Yes.
Do you think that if someone shoots at me unprovoked, that that's a violent offense?
I guess so. It really depends on the circumstances.
Again, unprovoked. I'm walking into this courtroom, and out of nowhere, this gentleman closest to the door, as soon as I open it, pulls out a gun and fires it at me. Is that a violent offense?
It could be. Depends on the circumstances.
You said that Carly, you never saw her get mad or yell.
I have never seen Carly just angry or anything.
Never.
No, ma'am. She's always been just a happy little girl.
Was she a happy little girl when we just heard the video when she was firing a gun at you?
Like I said, I've never seen anybody like that. Even in movies, she was not herself. And like I said, I do not believe she even recognized me. She was terrified.
And Heath, I believe on direct, when I asked you about medications, you actually didn't handle Carly's prescriptions or medications, right?
No, Ashley was making sure she was taking them.
I want to talk to you, Mr. Smylie. You said that law enforcement came over a couple times and they didn't find these cameras. Did Miss Todd and Mr. Camp come over to your house at some point?
Yes, they did.
And when was that?
I think it was after the second police search.
And at any point, did they also conduct a search of your house?
They came through and wanted to take pictures and get the layout of the house.
Did they take anything from the house?
I think they took a couple pieces of her artwork and a couple things like that, but I'm not certain at this time.
And you don't know as to what they did with those, do you?
I do not.
Did they ever find the camera in the refrigerator?
No.
Court's indulgence. There are no further questions.
May this witness be finally excused by the state.
We'd ask that be subject to recall.
Mr. Smylie, I'm going to ask you to stand down, but you're going to need to leave the courtroom and not discuss your testimony with anybody. You're not free to be in the courtroom just yet.
Okay.
All right. State may call its next witness.
Your Honor, this will be a lengthy witness. I'm not sure if you want us to start or if you'd rather us.
Y'all can approach. Before we go any further, I need S9 out of the DVD and back in the court reporter's custody, please.
Just for the record, Your Honor, I don't know if I put it on the record. The state we call Cliff Dunlap.
Just so ladies and gentlemen of the jury know, I'm requiring the state to take a witness out of order. Lunch isn't here yet, but we're not stopping till lunch is ready, okay? Take him a few minutes to get here, get there.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Have a seat. You don't have to speak directly in the microphone, but you need to speak so the lady on the back row can hear you, okay?
Okay.
You understand that you're now under oath and you're anxious to be sworn answers under penalty of perjury.
Yes.
All right, make yourself.
Good morning, Cliff. Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes, I'm Cliff Dunlap, Rankin County.
Where within Rankin County do you work, Cliff?
In the Rankin County Coroner's Office.
Okay. And what specifically is your title at the coroner's office?
Chief Deputy Coroner.
How long have you worked there at the coroner's office, Cliff?
Been there about 12 and a half years.
Okay. What year did you start?
2011.
And as the chief deputy coroner, what are some of your job duties and responsibilities there at the coroner's office?
So essentially we are death investigators. We respond to any number of deaths that fall under our jurisdiction.
Okay. Prior to working at the coroner's office, did you work anywhere else?
Yes, I've been in the death care industry since 2006 as a licensed mortician.
Okay. And what kind of training did you go through to become a licensed mortician?
So for the mortician, we have an associate's degree in applied sciences, specifically for mortuary science.
And before coming to the coroner's office in 2011, between 2006 and 2011, where else did you work during those times?
I started out working at Ottenly Funeral Home and then subsequently at mortuary services after that.
Okay. And just kind of, not to get graphic or anything like that, but on a day-to-day basis, what did your job responsibilities include?
So we would respond to scenes of death, hospitals, residents. We would take decedents into our care and then provide the services that the family wanted depending on their desires.
And so once you came to the coroner's office in 2011, what kind of training or education did you have to go through?
So we go through a 40-hour initial training that covers the various degrees and the topics that we may encounter on a day-to-day basis, death investigation, family notifications, and then we do continuing education on a yearly basis.
And how much continuing education is required of someone in the coroner's office?
So we're on 24 hours in a calendar year.
And just in general, what kind of topics do you typically what kind of classes do you take as part of your continuing education?
It could be any manner of things that kind of fall under the jurisdiction of death investigation, scene recovery, family discussions, just all manners that fall under that jurisdiction.
As part of your training and education, do you sometimes attend and observe autopsies at the state crime lab?
Yes, we do.
How many would you say that you've attended or observed since working at the coroner's office?
In my time total, I would say roughly 10 to 15.
And speaking of the state medical examiner's office, tell the ladies and gentlemen how the coroner's office works with the state medical examiner's office, or if y'all do work with the state medical examiner's office.
We do. So under the state medical examiner's office, there are 83 coroners, one for each county and one additional for the Choctaw Reservation. We're basically the eyes and the ears of the medical examiner's office because they're not able to, of course, go out to each individual death per county. So we're kind of their representatives on a day-to-day basis, and we report to them findings.
Since starting at the coroner's office in 2011, approximately how many calls would you say you've been on, Cliff?
Estimated, I would say at least into the thousands, based off of my yearly calls that we work.
And again, just kind of generally speaking, why would the coroner's office be called to a scene?
So again, for death investigation, usually anything that falls under our jurisdiction, natural deaths and unnatural deaths.
And whenever you say unnatural deaths, what do you mean by that?
Any death that is not attributable to a disease, natural disease process, that can range from suicides, homicides, accidental deaths.
Okay. And so just again, speaking generally, not about this case in particular, whenever you show up to a scene or respond to a call, kind of walk us through what your procedure is.
So normally we would determine whether or not this was a natural death or not. Like I said, we cover a lot of different types of cases. Of course, we want to make sure that the scene itself is preserved so that we have a very accurate description of how the death occurred. Then we would talk to any law enforcement agencies and proceed accordingly.
And now kind of turning to March 19th of this year, 2024, were you employed at the coroner's office at that time?
Yes.
As a chief deputy
Yes.
coroner? Okay. Do you remember receiving a call out to 214 Ashton Way?
I do.
Okay. And just by way of brief description, tell us where that's located.
It's in the Avalon subdivision, I believe, off Grants Ferry Road.
Okay. Old Fannin.
Old Fannin.
Yeah. And did you respond to that address?
I did.
Okay. And again, walk us through from the time that you got the call out to when you got on scene, what you did.
Okay. So when we arrived on scene, we were informed that this death was attributed to a gunshot wound. So that let us know that when we arrived on scene to meet with investigators and law enforcement just to make sure that the scene was secure and safe for us to enter into. Once that was established, we made entry into the heuse. Walking into the living room, we went to the left. There were some bedrooms that were located off the living room. At that time, we found Miss Smylie. She was laying on her back in a supine position, and it appears as though she had suffered gunshot wounds.
Okay. Did you conduct an initial investigation of your own to determine anything at that time?
Yes, we wanted to make sure, again, that scene preservation was of the utmost importance. So we talked to the law enforcement, made sure that, again, it was okay for us to enter into the scene. And that's when we noticed the room that she was in and kind of the surrounding environment.
And did you look at Miss Smylie? Did you observe anything about her body?
Yes. Upon initial inspection, we did see that she did have 2 gunshot wounds at the time. We always want to make sure that we present the medical examiner with the most accurate visual possible. So, we kind of document what we're looking at, and that's what we initially found were the 2 gunshot wounds.
Okay. So once you did your initial investigation, then what did you do after that?
So at that time, we placed Miss Smylie into a white sheet that's used to collect any artifact that may be displaced during the transportation process. And then we recovered her from the scene until we took her to the medical examiner's office.
And then did you, as part of your investigation, conduct any further investigation into Miss Smiley's case?
At that time, we were waiting on law enforcement and their reports to come in, and then the medical examiner's office would perform the autopsy.
Okay. And after the medical examiner's office performed the autopsy, did you learn anything else about how many gunshot wounds Miss Smiley had received?
Yes.
Approach.
Be marked S10 for all purposes and admitted for all purposes by way of stipulation of the parties. Hold on. Give him the report. Give him the report. Yeah. Yes, sir. You can approach.
I just was going to give him this document. Thank you, Your Honor.
That's all right.
Mr. Dunlap, you were just handed a document there. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
And what is that?
This is our case report that we fill out on every death that we work.
Okay. And it appears as though it's 3 pages. Is that what you have?
Correct.
Okay. If you turn to the last page there's a what says investigator narrative. Do you see that?
I do.
Did you write that?
I did.
Okay. And when would you have written that?
That would have been the night of the incident.
Okay. And if you, in this case, were you able to make a determination as to cause and manner of death?
Yes.
Okay.
Once the medical examiner's office ruled, yes.
Okay. If you look on page 2 or anywhere in this report, is that reflected in this report?
Yes.
Okay. And what were you able to determine as the cause of death?
Cause of death was 3 gunshot wounds to the head.
And what about the manner of death?
Manner of death was homicide.
Court's indulgence. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination. Mr. Camp, you need the exhibit for cross.
Yes, Your Honor.
If you would please give it to Mr. Bailiff, and the bailiff will give it to Mr. Camp.
I have a copy, Your Honor.
You do have to, okay, just want to make sure. I knew I took your only copy. I apologize. Okay.
Okay, Cliff, and I'm just wanting to make sure I understand everything. This is what you call your case report, is what you have in front of you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, is that the only documents that is generated by your office?
As far as our investigative report, it is. We do initiate the death certificate, of course, for the funeral home at the appropriate time.
Okay, and to, I guess, initiate the death report and this case report, you look at other documents, is what I'm understanding. Is that correct?
As far as,
Well, you said you had talked to the medical examiner's office.
right, that was once the autopsy report was completed and they initiated the cause and manner of death.
Okay, once they do okay, so you're getting information from the autopsy.
Correct.
Okay, and so that's actually that's telling you what the manner of death is, or
Correct.
Manner of death is. Is that
Correct.
Okay, it's not anything you do.
Correct.
Okay, so you're just it's sort of secondhand information that you get from them, and then you put on a piece of paper, and then you turn it in.
Once they rule on the cause of death, yes, sir.
Okay. And here, I was looking on the last page, because you said there were, and I guess this would be a case in point.
Mm-hmm.
On the last page, it has your investigator narrative, and that would be your narrative.
Correct.
Okay. And it talks about 2 gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then you got more information, I guess, after you did your narrative.
Right. Correct.
Okay. And you didn't go back and edit it or change, or when I say change it, you didn't make a notation that upon getting the autopsy information back, there's actually 3 gunshots or anything like that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you normally make, because it looks like on the first page, did you say, or at some point you do say there's 3 gunshots. Is that correct?
In the case or the cause of death, once it was ruled that it was changed to that.
Okay. But you didn't change the narrative.
Correct.
And you didn't, in your narrative, you didn't say anything about once you get the information, you're now, compiling the report and this is what we're doing. Is that correct?
Right. We have a separate report from the medical examiner's office.
And so is this one, well, I guess you wouldn't do this case report, or you wouldn't finish it until you got the autopsy, though.
Correct.
Okay. No further questions, John.
Redirect.
Cliff, do you know whenever you said you sat through some autopsies, is that correct?
Correct.
Whenever the medical examiner gets someone into the crime lab, do they clean that person up?
What they do initially is they will do x-rays before anything is done to the decedent. Yes.
Do they clean the person up or in any manner?
During the course of the autopsy, they do.
Okay. Is the based off what you know personally, is the medical examiner's office, can they then do their investigation into the decedent at that time as well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you said earlier that the coroner's office is the eyes and the ears in Rankin County. Is that correct?
Correct.
And again, just to be clear, as reflected in your report that's in evidence, what were you able to determine was the cause and manner of death?
The gunshot wounds.
Okay. And what?
Yes.
Cliff, through the laws of the state, are you familiar with the laws of the state of Mississippi as they affect the coroner's office?
Yes.
Okay. And does your office make a determination as to cause and manner of death through your normal job duties and responsibilities?
In cases that we rule on, yes.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
May this witness be finally excused by the state?
Yes, sir.
By the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you're free to step down. Y'all approach. Take our lunch break. Y'all, I'm going to give y'all over to the bailiff. He's going to take y'all on back. Lunch should be there in just a few minutes, okay? Everyone remain seated while the jury exits. All right, the record will reflect we're outside the presence of the jury. As soon as the jury gets lunch, we'll be in recess till 12:30, but as soon as they're done, we'll get started back. Anything further from the state before we recess?
No, sir.
From the defense?
Your Honor, we do have one issue that we would like to take up if we could.
Sure. Go ahead and come to the podium.
Your Honor, there was a mental evaluation that was done by Dr. Pickett, and that we had made a request to get the recording, and we had sent both an email to the court. We filed a motion because we weren't sure exactly what we need to do to ask for it. Dr. Pickett had sent us a response when we had requested his recording. He said that he'd be happy to give it to us, but we have to file a subpoena or something to that effect. And that's why we filed the motion.
Do you have an order for me to sign or a subpoena or anything?
Yes, Your Honor, I can get that. That's why if the court says it's okay, we will get you an order.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hear from the state in response, but short orders, yes, but I'm not typing the order.
Yes, we'll take care of that. No problem, Your Honor.
Does the state have a response for the record?
Your Honor, the motion doesn't actually state any reasoning for wanting the recordings other than the fact that in the evaluation report, Dr. Pickett made numerous allegations concerning one of the defendant's attorneys. It doesn't appear that they want these recordings for anything to do with the defendant's mental state at the time, but rather about something to do with an attorney. So we don't really know what the purpose of those would be. So of course we can't state whether we would agree or not agree to the production, but also should be noted that their expert did not provide us, nor did he have any recordings of his evaluations.
Anything further? Any reply?
Your Honor, I don't believe there was a recording by Dr. Just for clarification, there were two other individuals who had done reports. Neither one of those individuals did recordings on this matter. The issue was in his report, it references interactions between the defendant, the attorney, and part of Dr. Pickett's evaluation was based upon those interactions, and it specifically says it in his report. And they know what we are referring to, so that's what the basis of it was, Your Honor.
Well, The court will grant any order or subpoena that the Dr. Pickett believes that he requires for you to turn it over. However, as I said, I don't type anybody's orders. So I don't have an order in front of me. As soon as I get the order, I'll be happy to sign it. I'll ask the state to go ahead and let Dr. Pickett know that I have said I'm going to order him to turn it over. So I'd ask that he turn it over post haste, but I can understand the doctor wanting some document from the court saying he has to turn it over too. But motion granted, give me an order, give me a subpoena. All right?
Yes,
Over the objection of the state.
And we will notify Dr. Pickett. When I spoke with him about whether or not he could produce that, he did have some concerns about being able to email such a large file. So that if the defense could help provide him with some way for them to actually transfer that file. Otherwise, it would not be until if and when he's brought here into town for hearing testimony.
I believe Dropbox would allow.
Okay, well, Dr. Pickett's not going to set up the Dropbox. This is what I'm going to do. I'll sign the order saying he's to turn it over. But logistics are y'all's hands, okay? The court is not going to get involved with typing the state's orders. I don't type the defendant's orders, and I don't get involved with the state or the defendant how y'all want it produced. That's y'all's problem. So, granted, give me an order. I'm asking the state to let Dr. Pickett know that I'm granting the order. How he produces it, it's none of my concern. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Best of luck to both sides. We'll be in recess at 12:30.
And as you just heard, they are going to recess. They'll be in recess until 12:30. We will be back shortly before that, just a few minutes before that, to continue the coverage of the Carly Gregg trial. Otherwise, we're going to end this stream. We'll send out a notification when the next stream is coming up so that you can tune back in and continue watching coverage day 2 of Carly Gregg murder trial. We'll be back. Thank you guys for tuning in.